Okay.
Hi, everybody. How are you tonight? My name is Rita Crompton. This is the August, I think we're still in August, meeting of Inventors Roundtable Virtual East. So we've got Dave has joined us, David Claypatch, and Brandon Kolar, who's just got a deal done as well. And then the woman who is going to be taking over, Inventor Lady, at some point in the future, Catherine Crompton. Hello, Catherine.
Hi.
And yes, she is related. All right, Dave, go ahead and ask your questions. We'll answer them as part of the meeting tonight, because I'm sure that there are lots of people who can learn from this.
That's what I figured. I'm at the stage now where I have my prototypes. I've made those. I'm in the process of making tools to actually, I'll say, mass produce the prototype for myself in small runs. I have the website is up and running. The sell sheet, I just have to do a few tweaks on that, so I'm ready to send that out to anybody that would want it. At this point, I've actually been, for quite a while, I've been collecting and connecting with people on LinkedIn. So I've got quite an extensive LinkedIn community, and that was actually one of my first questions is, should I start introducing my product before I actually have product to sell?
Absolutely, but you can do it with that precursor. It's like, I'm taking orders. This is my estimated date when I'll have it, because it always takes a while. I mean, it's not like you get 1,000 orders tomorrow. Right. Brandon can testify to that. It takes a while of getting the word out there and posting your product to get feedback. When you've got your sell sheet ready and you said your website is ready, send us the link. Catherine is the one that does most of my outreach on LinkedIn, so we'll share all of your stuff on our LinkedIn. Okay. Because she's the one who really, facilitates that, going after the licensing and reaching out to those different parties. Okay. And so what we'll do is she'll be able to see your a lot of your contacts on your LinkedIn when, because I know you're part of ours already.
Yep.
So that way then she can go out, she can see who's reaching out to you, see what's going on, and then we will reach out as well.
Okay.
Okay, because you've got one of the go-to products. That's, I saw a big chain sitting in my husband's work shed, and it's like, okay, David, come on. It goes on his chainsaw, and it's like, all right, it's not a bike, but
actually, know something? I wonder if the chainsaw has a oiler built right into it, but you could use it on that too.
When it's sitting on the desk out in the pump house, there's something that needs to be done with it. But anyway, yes. So yes, start reaching out, give estimated dates of, fulfillment, that kind of thing, getting feedback. And you can always ask the question, who would be interested in this? Give me your feedback, because that's all good for licensing.
How do I promote it on LinkedIn? And how should I promote it on LinkedIn?
Ask Kat.
There you go, Kat.
Primarily when I'm looking at trying to make contact for the different people that we handle licensing contracts, I go and I do a Google search of manufacturers that either manufacture something similar, something that might be along the same business model, this like something that might fit in well with their product line. It might not be exactly the same, but it complements them somehow. And I try to focus more on manufacturers, not stores themselves, because it's not typically the stores that put a licensing contract in place.
Right. Correct.
I'm sorry, a licensing deal. So that's what I look for. And then once I find those companies, then I go and I do searches of those companies and I try to find LinkedIn contacts on that. Now, you can go a couple different ways when you try to contact someone via LinkedIn. If you have a premium membership, they allow you what are basically 17 emails a month that are just like cold calls. The equivalent of cold calls, that you're emailing someone you have no contact with, no mutual contact with. So those are very limited. But what you can do is you can send connection requests to people. So usually that's what I try and do is I send out the connection request and see if I get any hits back. And then if somebody Even if just one person contacts me, then it opens me up to look at their contacts. And then I can send connection requests to those people. So LinkedIn kind of locks you into only being able to connect to what they refer to as first, second, and third connections.
Right.
That even if you're distantly connected to someone, you get a little bit more ability to interact with them. But if we just have absolutely no ability to connect with them, we use one of our premiums. And you know, I hold those very dear. I tell my mother she's not allowed to use those.
Yeah.
Unless she
Well,
use it with me first. So
I've been doing that. So I actually have a lot of the manufacturers. I've actually looked for marketing people. Sometimes they even get a CEO or vice president or something. But people that are in line. So I've been trying to collect those names. I've been making connections. Some of them have connected, so other ones haven't. The ones that are real busy.
Sometimes it's better rather than approach it as I have an idea, I want to sell you. If you try the approach of I'd love some feedback from you on this product that I feel is similar to your product line, and kind of initiate contact with the idea of you're looking for their expertise, so to say, and see if you can reel them in that way. Sometimes that helps. And honestly, it's like the equivalent of cold calling. You sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't, sometimes you get totally shot down, and most of the time you get ignored. You just got to keep trying.
Okay, well, that's what I've been doing with the bike shops. When I go in, I ask them for their expertise and their opinion. And now that I have the prototypes, I'm actually going to leave it with them. In the past, I could only show it to them. So I've actually got quite a few of them that requested copies, and so I'm working on that right now. I've got the packaging and everything all set. So I don't know. At this point, well, I actually had a couple of questions. Should I make a couple of hundred prototypes and just deal with that, or should I have like 5,000 manufactured? It's only like maybe $1,500 to make 5,000 of them. So,
if you can make them so that we can sell them, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, a short run like that is really a great step to have, because it proves something, basically, especially if you're selling them. It proves the interest. It proves the fact that they're out there, you're moving them, and that is better than just a prototype.
How many are you talking about?
You know, it's your wallet. All right. So, Brandon's got his hand up. He's going to add in here. Brandon, go ahead.
I always did mine in like batches of 50 because I ended up making changes after so many of them. And then I did things based on customer feedback, wholesaler feedback, or as I met with more manufacturing of something they asked me to add or do, or when I was changing packaging. So like 1,500 seems cool, but I would have started a little bit smaller just in case you make any alterations before you go full go 2,000 unit order.
Okay. Well, that was my idea too. I could actually produce these myself. I've made the tooling to be able to manufacture them. I'm going to say fairly quickly. But if somebody orders 1,000 of them, I wouldn't be able to place the order. But at that point, I guess you could worry about it.
Keep in mind that if they're placing that kind of order, they want it for the next business quarter most of the time, not tomorrow.
Okay.
And so you can put some parameters around that. Can fill a dozen of 2 orders for a local bike shop store shelf. Anything else needs a lead time of whatever to fill an order, because that is not unusual.
So I'm gonna concentrate on making the I'll call them prototypes, but I'm going to plan on making them myself for the first. Maybe I can make 1,000 of them myself. I don't think that would be hard to do, and it would cost me nothing.
I wouldn't use prototypes anymore. You've got product and you're selling it.
Yeah. At this time, it's a finished product at this point.
Right. Yep. And so you've got product.
So yes, I could actually make 500 or 1,000 of them. Just get the raw materials and make them myself. I've got everything I need to make that. So I think I'm going to go that route. Okay. Now, one of my questions is now that I'm starting to sell, do I need liability insurance?
Probably.
Okay.
Now, for your industry, it's not going to be very much, but it is not something you want to overlook. Brandon, did you have your hand up?
It was more for talking about his flyer. but we'll come back to it. But yeah, I had to get product liability insurance when I got my first big order. They made me do that as part of my contract. So you might start looking into that now, just so you have some quotes and
I know
options
I
out in the
sent
field.
you, I know I sent you the name of somebody. Did you end up using them or did you go somewhere else?
I went with someone else because I was getting proposals from $2,800 to over $11,000, which was crazy. And then I actually found someone in the industry that
Okay.
came referred, and so now I'm filling out all their
All right.
paperwork. But I was surprised with it was for my product, and then how many times I just got dropped. But
Well, yeah, you're a very different product than what brand or what Dave's got, but
Oh, yeah.
I can certainly see, you know, we run into that when we're dealing with something that is a, you know, OTC healthcare versus or a baby product versus, you know, a dog product, or, you know, something that is a tool. All right, they just don't have the same parameters. But if you could send me, Brandon, if you don't mind sending me your contact person, I really need somebody else that I can send clients to. And if they only do that, but they may have an associate
Sure.
that does other industries, and we would really like to have that so that I can, you know, send it on to
Right.
Dave and have it then in my back pocket.
Now
because I ended up going with the guy that just insured it as a wood product, just so to get me started.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting the actual product liability insurance for like being on a retail shelf, but I still got it insured really basically as just a wood product.
Okay. Yeah. If you could send me that, I would really appreciate it because I get other people that ask about that. Wendy, how are you tonight?
Will do.
Whoops, can you hear me?
Barely.
Barely. Okay. I'm in the land of the living. For everyone else, I've had COVID the last week. So this strand was pretty rough on me. So I'm back and I'm understanding what you're saying, which is a lot better than I was doing last week. So.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you. So then my question for you is I did send John's contact information to you.
Is John the attorney or is John a prototype person?
John is the prototype person.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. And I haven't talked to Jonathan yet. He would be the attorney to send that letter until I heard back from you.
That's fine. I've had other things first day back, so I will do it after the call. I think I'm going to spend a little time doing that.
And that's fine. The prototype guy, he knows that you have been ill, and he said he would, you know, wait for you to contact him.
Okay, that sounds good. Is it worthwhile getting any? I don't know these three people from a hole in the wall, getting their version of what I've gone through with our jerk factor guy.
Well, let me introduce them to you very quickly. And yes, you know, you're patent pending. So telling them, you know, the story of the cranky pants, that's a politically incorrect word probably, but it is better than the alternatives that Wendy and I have been using the last 3 days. So I'm not sure the pictures of the screen that you've got. All right. The young lady at the top corner of my screen is Kat. She does a lot of the LinkedIn, social media posting stuff, helps with the sell sheets that everybody does. And at some point in the future, she will be Inventor Lady too. Dave is in the middle of the screen and he is going to market. He's also going to the hardware show with us. Wendy is going to the hardware show with us. So Brandon, you are the only one not going to the hardware show with us, but you know, considering
I mentioned if my can opener's done by then, I'm coming.
All right. So Brandon Kolar is in the marketplace and filling orders. Got an exclusive deal, so he's got a lot of experience. Nice. Very cool product. Dave is just going into manufacturing and getting everything teed up and stuff. So anyway, yeah, why don't you fill them in? Don't start with this weekend, but start with your original request and then how things fell apart. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All of this happened before I met Rita. So I had this, hang on, I still got foggy brain. Provisional patent is the first one, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have a provisional patent from another attorney. I was patent pending. I ran into Rita on a podcast and I kept her in my hip pocket so I could find her online. In the meantime, I knew that after that, I needed to go work with someone to get a prototype of my product. My product is a I would call it not quite medical, but it's therapy. It's a lap pad of sorts that will go either attached to your waist or lay across your lap. I was in my hot tub last night and I got to thinking, hey, this could wrap around my feet if I wanted the back of my calves and this, so I'm already thinking of maybe version B of this pad that you can use. And it's for people who float in their hot tubs. I have for 25 years. I get into loungers and I float away and I spend most of my time trying to brace myself on a jet or something just to hold myself in place to try and get therapy. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of defeating my whole purpose, and there was nothing on the market. So I just made my own. And from there, every time I showed it to somebody, it's like, can I have that? And I was like, no, I got one. No, this is mine. And so that's where the idea was born. I went to this company. Should I say the company name?
We're recording this. It's going to go out. So if anybody wants to know the company, I will tell you privately. But let's keep the company, at least for now, out of the picture.
It's fine. I went to a company that I found from a podcast. They sounded very respectable. They would help you with every step of the way, kind of like what Rita says. So I thought, okay, I'll join forces. I need a prototype. Entered into an exchange with one of the workers there. And the transaction was, I signed my NDA, or they signed an NDA. I have that on file. And they would provide me 2 different types of prototypes of this product with all the changes after the prototype for a fee. So I said, okay. So I paid him that fee. And that was 3 months ago. And every time I needed it, and of course I said, how does this work? And he says, oh my gosh, this is great. We have a manufacturer. We'll go out and we'll source the material that you want and how the dimensions you want. And then we'll send it to you in the mail. That way you can have it, feel it, make your changes, send it back, send the changes back. We'll keep going until you're okay with prototype 1. And then we'll keep working on prototype 2, which was a different style of lap pad. So I said, okay. So it went crickets. I mean, I didn't hear anything for quite some time. So after about 4 weeks, I said, hey, what's up? When's this going to occur here? I thought maybe I'd hear something from you. And he said, we're having delays and they're having a hard time getting the material. And after that, it was, could you give me some updates? And he said, yeah, I'll be more punctual. Well, crickets. 2 more weeks go by. And by that time, I had kind of met Rita, and I'm said, is 6 weeks too long to kind of just wait for at least some prototype or a timeline or something? And so with her help, she helped me decide that it should have been quicker than this. I think they're kind of just stalling on you. I don't really know what's going on. So I threatened to dispute the charge if I don't have anything by August 1st. Well, about August 3rd, I end up with my prototype 1, which was interesting. It was made differently than I asked. It was made out of material that I had, something like this needs to drain easily. And this was made out of canvas, and canvas would be musty in like probably a nanosecond. So I said, dude, this is not what I even asked for. What happened? And he said, well, we couldn't really find the drainable nylon. So this was material she had on hand. And I said, I went to Amazon to get my drainable nylon bag. So I can't imagine this would be really, really difficult. So we kind of had a little bit of a professional disagreement in that, could you at least have gotten the material close to right? So I sent in my changes and I said, what's the timeline and when am I going to get prototype 2? Because now it's August 3rd. I had an August 26th deadline for a non-provisional patent application. I knew I was falling behind, and the guy went silent on me. So I've been dinking around since, the first week of August, and just decided to dispute my charge with the credit card company. So when this prototype company got word that I was disputing it, all of a sudden they decided to start talking to me. So they contacted me and wanted to know why I was disputing the charge. And this was the owner of the company, not just the worker. And so I told him, And I said communication was horrid, lack thereof. The only time I got an update was when I chased the guy down by voicemail and text and email. And I didn't think that I should have to pay to do that. I thought this was like a service. So he asked me for samples. So I sent him pictures of text, and he came back and said, you know, you're right. He didn't communicate well with you. We didn't use the material you wanted, but you know, we sent you something. And I said, okay, that's great. You know, when you ask for an apple and you get an orange, what's the big deal? It's like, that doesn't quite, you know, suit the charge. So he said, is there any way we can fix this? And I ended up contracting COVID right at that time. So I kind of fell off the radar map for a couple of days. And the next thing I get is an email that really shook me to the core. And he said, well, since you haven't answered, I assume that we're just going to move ahead. And I kind of like your product. And I think I'm just going to manufacture it myself. And I'm just going to take it to market, since you won't, you know, answer me, or you won't, you know, you've stolen our ideas. That was it. That I've stolen his idea of the prototype. So he was going to take all my work and manufacture it and take it to market. And that's when I kind of spiraled and came out of, I'll just come unglued, and I called Rita, because I thought, what in the world did I spend all this money for patents for if somebody can just waltz up and do that? And I guess the version is that you can't. So now I'm in a little bit of a quagmire of, how do I handle this jerk who probably knows he can't do it, but if he does, then I have to go dig into my prototype money and my marketing money to go and spend it on stupid attorneys. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to say that disrespectfully, but that is not the goal that I wanted. Rita said she's never seen this in 20 years. I don't know how I got so lucky to get myself in this position, but I'm not quite sure what path to choose. You know, do I threaten to ruin his company because I can find every website imaginable and file a Better Business Bureau, and I'll get Yelp, I'll get everything out there, believe me, I will, to ruin his reputation over what he's done, because I don't think it's right at all. Any suggestions?
Dave, Brandon, you got any input for Wendy?
I'll go second, but I'd call his bluff.
What does that mean, call his bluff?
Because he's threatening to take it to market, but the tens of thousands of dollars it takes to do that is a lot to invest in. So he's trying to dispute the charge that you already gave him, but for him to go from scratch and even take what you've done.
Brandon, we lost you.
I can't.
Sorry, there goes my mic.
There
Sorry.
you go.
Put the mic back. The amount of cost it would do for him to take that is a lot, unless he really thinks it's multi-million-dollar idea. But I feel like he's threatening you on the credit card charge, and then if he blocks you up with attorney fees and everything else, you can't be working on the product, which is what you should be doing.
Right.
But it's an extremely tough situation, but it's the same way with the invent help type companies, that if you read their paperwork in 2 years, your idea is theirs. Like if you quit paying them, if you quit doing stuff, I've seen stuff on the market 6 months after the clause is up. And I've had gym owners that have done the same thing, that they're heartbroken to see their product on the shelf because one of those companies took it. Your case is a little different, but it's expensive to launch a product.
Yeah. So anyway, Wendy, we're going to come back to that. Let's introduce Daniela.
Yes, Danielle, I'm back. I haven't been here for probably like 2 months.
So how are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Good. It's good to see you. And Carol just joined us. Hi, Carol. How are you tonight? You're muted, dear. There you are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Sorry,
All right.
I'm late.
So we are trying to troubleshoot a little bit with Wendy. I know more of the storyline than she'd shared with everybody here. So basically we're going to kind of finish up with that, and then Danielle, if you've got any questions or Carol's got any questions, we'll come back to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Wendy, when you were talking to us about, the email communications, were those things then that you shared with us where he came back and he goes, well, he should have contacted you, but he didn't. Are those in emails?
Yes, that's in written form.
Excellent. Okay. So when you talked about, this was your prototype and what it sounds to me is like he admits to it being a work for hire arrangement. He wasn't your partner. All
No.
right. You were hiring him to do a job. So you don't really have the proper paperwork, but you got enough in email exchanges, and email exchanges do stand up in court. It's one of the reasons I always tell people is like, don't put something in an email that you don't want to see on the front page of the New York Times. Because emails will, you can actually work with emails in a court. He knows that. I know the owner of the company rather well. So that makes it a little bit more challenging because he's a very prominent character in the lives of inventor groups.
Right. So, and I just need to look up inventor groups. So when I make my bullet points, I can list 9 or 10 of them and go, oh, don't you think I won't go to www.
Oh, honey, I think that you could do some serious damage on LinkedIn because he's all over the place and probably even on the USPTO website.
USPTO. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, I agree with Brandon, and that was where the attorney I talked to over the weekend agreed with Brandon. He is trying to bully you, and you can call his bluff. Now, with that said, we've got the two guys want to make some comments, and then
That would be great.
when you call when we have the attorney write a letter for you, basically that's what it would say. It's like, you know what, go jump off a cliff. Dave, you were first, honey. What?
I had something similar to this happen to me in a different business, and if it's possible, if they start doing anything and they copy any of your wording, you actually have automatic copyright privileges to that. So you could turn around and sue them on copyright infringement very easy, rather than pursuing them for something else. I had somebody that owed me a lot of money back in my day when I was a photographer. I had somebody that hired me to do a job, never paid me, and I just called up the advertising agency, told them that they're in breach of copyright, and that I'm going to be suing them, and I got a check the next day. So because that's something that I don't think they could really argue about it if they're copying your wording. That's a little further down the line though. So, but if they start doing that, keep in mind if they take any of your copy, that at least you have that a little bit of ammunition there to work with.
Danielle, to answer your question, she did not give the name. It was a guy who was making the prototype, a company, because it was somebody who worked for him that was making the prototype, and he didn't get even close to what she was asking for. And then when her credit card company canceled the payment, she asked the credit card company to cancel the payment to them, and so then they went out after her. Wendy, just for a note in the letter, any chance you went to the doctor to get diagnosed with COVID?
In what letter?
In the letter that we write to him. Did you go to the doctor this time when you had COVID?
Oh yeah, I got stuff all over the place. It was a whole week long.
There
you go. An ER visit and
All right,
everything.
so when he said you never responded, it's like, I was sick, dude. Get over it. It was only a few days.
Right. He said it was just a couple of days ago that I contacted you, and this is what he decided to say after that.
Yeah. So yes, plenty of stuff to go out after him. Brandon, what did you want to add?
If you're really nervous and you want to spend the money, you can also send a cease and assist letter with the evidence you already have, which would be enough to scare him also. If you really think he's going to try to take it to market, you have enough proof, and you can pay an attorney for office hours for a couple hours to draft up a letter for the cease and assist.
I'd personally rather do that than pay him, but
yeah. And that's what we've got an attorney that can do, a couple of hours. We're going to send him the bullet points, give him the ammunition, send him copies of all the emails that she's got. And then Jonathan will put together, something that we can use and send off to him. See, the problem and part of the complicating factors is that, this guy knows me real well. And it's like,
he just doesn't know I'm working with Rita. That's all.
Does not know that you're working with me. And so we're going to keep it that way.
Yeah,
Um,
my throw in here is if he doesn't realize you're working with Rita, he's assuming you're ignorant of what
Like out
your
there.
rights are and what legally you would have repercussions wise against him. He's just playing the odds that he knows more than you do and that you haven't gone to someone else yet. And I think as soon as you make it clear you know how the game is played, you're more than capable of fighting back, he's going to do an about face really quick and either come back and say, well, what can we do to make this better, or he's going to say, fine, consider your charges reversed. But I can't believe he would be willing to jeopardize everything he built.
Right.
And that would happen. Like you would have a case, you would take him to court, and yes, it would cost you dearly, but you would win. And he knows that.
He
So
does know.
he's just calling, like everyone said, he's playing a bluff card here because he's hoping you're ignorant. And I think a well-drafted cease and desist from an attorney so that he realizes you're not in a sandbox. You aren't playing with other kids here. You know what your rights are and you have no problem fighting back. He'll take a quick step back.
In the letter, I guess, obviously asked him to, do I ask him, what am I actually asking him other than to keep my charges reversed? Because how do I get wording from him that he won't go ahead with this? Because how am I supposed to know? I can't like stalk him.
You probably won't. That was one of the things that that Ray had said to me, is that you probably won't hear back from him. You will go out there and let him know the consequences of, his moving forward. And
Okay.
I don't know, we'll talk to Jonathan about the ideas, I mean, part of me is thinking, don't threaten him to go out there and post that he's a jerk. Go out and post,
Right.
he is a jerk. And what he's doing is wrong. And other people need to know that. And what you do then is you go out and say, all right, we are not paying you for this. The prototype that you sent was awful. We've got proof of it. I've got all these emails that tell the story. So no,
Right.
he's not being paid. And then once it's all said and done, he knows what patent pending means.
Right. Yes. This is not a new term.
No, he's very much aware. He's been doing this a long time. Brandon?
The only other thing I was going to say is if you want to settle, you could and decide on his website what the prices are for the first prototype and then settle for half of what your charge was. Or I know you're upset with what you got, but then that also completes the work for hire that you did part of what you were paid for. And especially if they accept payment, you're done with it and you can wash your hands with it, depending on how much that would be for settling.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the things. If they accept payment, if you say, I will pay you this much, and they accept it, they are agreeing to the terms. So you can say, all right, so the full charge was this amount. I got one prototype. It was not done correctly. I will give you $200 towards materials. And if he accepts the $200, it's over because he accepted it. So something to think about. All right, Brandon, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Danielle, do you have any questions for us tonight? Your turn. Tell us where you are in the process. Do you have a product in the marketplace, something you're working on?
Yeah, I have a product in the marketplace. It's kind of like a gateway product for me because the product that I want to create, it will cost a lot of money to fund the purchase order. So that's like a disposable version of my product, and then like the reusable version of my product is easier for manufacturers to make in small orders, and I can afford that. So I'm selling that until I can raise the money to make the disposable version. But yes, I'm in the marketplace. My question that I had asked Wendy, I know you're shifting, but I just want to be aware too of who to look out for. And I didn't know if it was like one of those Inventor companies that had reached out to you, because I missed that in the beginning, just so that I know not to buy into some of that.
Oh, you know what, if you're looking at having somebody help you with your prototype stage or your manufacturing, shoot me an email and I will give you the guidance list. as opposed to giving you the bad guy list, which then puts me at risk for, exposing them. But anyway,
Okay. Fair enough.
or when Wendy posts the crankiness on LinkedIn, we'll send you a link to it so that you can see who they are.
Sounds good.
I'd love to share it with all of you. Believe
Okay.
me.
I do know that, and at one point or another we will. But for right now, getting out the door with this, we need to be a little bit more aware. All right, but
Yep.
on a private phone call or email, we are more than happy to say this is who it was,
Okay.
and
Sounds
you
good.
will all be shocked. So anyway, any other questions? So when do you think you're going to have product in the marketplace?
So
What
I am
is
on.
it? What is it? Tell us what it is.
I don't have it on me, but I explained it once before. I only maybe remember one or two of you guys there that time, but it's a diaper extender pad that attaches to the back of a disposable diaper that catches like a diaper blowout when that happens for babies. So it works extremely well. It sells pretty good on Amazon, but I want to get it out everywhere. I want to go retail eventually with it. So I'm just kind of in this stuck place where I'm selling like a few a day, and it's not
You've
really.
got inventory.
Yes.
You've got inventory. All right. So let's get you on the radio show.
Okay.
All right. It's free, and you can come in and talk about it. We've got another lady working on a diaper product. And so as we go out and make those contacts, are you looking at licensing or just reselling? You want to be a manufacturer or you want to license?
I'm interested in licensing as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, but you can fill orders. So what I can do is I can put you in touch with a gentleman named Mike Locker with Locker Innovations. He's got contacts in baby products to the big box stores. All right. So, certainly having a conversation with him is worth it, because he can give you some feedback.
Yeah.
All right. So shoot me an email tomorrow and I'll send you over Mike's contact information. You're welcome.
Okay.
Carol,
Thank
how
you.
are you tonight?
All right. I'm recuperating from, I think I mentioned that to you that I have had some back issues. So I just 2 days ago had a procedure. So I'm not exactly very mobile at the moment. I should be fine in a couple of days.
Good.
And so I had to get that taken care of. So as far as that's my physical problem. But I really, as you know, haven't gotten too far with my prototype, with actually the not prototype, with the patent application to the USPTO. So we're working on that, as you know, with Jonathan, and I'm waiting for that to happen, and then I'm going to talk to you about what is my next step after that.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So, all right, I'm going to let you guys talk for a minute while I go and rescue Robert here, because he says the link y'all use to get into the meeting doesn't work. So I am going to email him the link and see if he can join us. So which one of you ran the meeting last week when I lost all my power? Dave, was that you?
Yeah, it was.
There you go. Hey, you're good at this. All right.
Well, actually, no, I have a question. I would love for us to go around and have everybody say how they found out about the meetings, because I'm looking for more feedback on things that I've done in regards to posting and things that our marketing guy has done in regards to posting, so we know which avenues are actually working. So if we could start with you, Dave, and you'd say how you found out about the Inventors Roundtable, that would be great.
Boy, that's a good question. It was probably a number of different ways, because I know I've seen Rita on LinkedIn, and just following some of the inventor associations. It probably came up, and once it came up once, twice, three times. Oh, you know what? I know where it came from. It came from Mr. Peters.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
George.
that's
Okay.
right. George Peters actually gave me your name. I had heard your name before that, but then once he gave me your name, that's how I actually contacted you. Yep.
Okay. How about you, Brandon?
I'm part of the KY Inventors Association, or KY Inventors Group, and they had a big get together with like 8 different organizations, and Rita was part of that, and then spoke about her show, and then I sent her a LinkedIn message and went from there. So I
Okay.
learned about her from the KY Inventors big like networking shindig, where there was probably 8 or 9 different associations together.
Okay. How about you, Wendy?
I heard about Rita. She was on a podcast that that shared the attorney that I used for the provisional patent and talked about her services, et cetera, et cetera. I jotted down her name or info. I thought, well, this is somebody I might be able to talk to in the future. Don't really know what's going on when you first, when you're a newbie and you have your first idea. So that's how I found out. And then I just found out about this through her as far as talking in the meetup groups.
Okay. All right. Danielle, how about you?
I want to say for me, it was a Google search, and I was really trying to look for something exactly like this. And so I found Meetup, and that's how I found this group.
Okay. How about you, Carol?
Pretty much the similar thing. I was doing a research. I had approached other invention companies. I didn't feel comfortable with what I read about them or what I just had, my instinct told me they weren't the right company. But when I read about you, I did some research and I liked what you said and I felt that I could trust you. And I thought, I'm going to talk to Rita. And it was through you that I found out about the Roundtable.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. Everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's been one of our questions is that people say, well, how are people finding out about you? And it's like, it really is kind of all over the place. So, we don't know unless we ask. I've asked people and say, how'd you find out about us? And they go, well, I'm listening to you on the radio show right now. And it's like, okay. And then others is like, Brandon meets somebody at a show last weekend that I've known for, met 20 years ago. And they go, I know her. She's that Inventor lady. It always surprises me how it comes around. So, Brandon, once you fill the orders, is your life just sucked up then with manufacturing?
Yeah, so I have a machine, so I make it myself, and I set an alarm, and then I can make 3 units every 24 minutes. So I just have an alarm on my phone, or I put a little kitchen timer on my pocket, and then every 24 minutes I go and reset my machine, and then I make them in batches. So then I work with the kids, and they're laminating things, and we're packaging them, and my wife will help package them and put several hundred of them together at a time, and I'm sanding them and doing all in steps and finding ways to make it faster, finding materials that are a little bit less expensive, because when I did my most recent order, I did it in 500 units. So I was able to buy in bulk, find some materials that were a little less expensive. I mean, even something that's 4 cents different, when you're buying 500 of them, makes a difference of like $68. So that was a good benefit. And then just looking at things for how you want to save time and effort with printers or with something that's faster, and for what your time is worth of figuring that out.
Yep. So in a 24-hour period, how many can you make?
Realistically, like another 7 of the raw materials. I still have to put them together. Like there's like 16 minutes worth of steps for what you're doing, for having your first piece that you actually need, and you do everything else too. Like 60 a day when I'm really hustling and spending time on it. And it's a machine, so it gets hot, things happen, you have to cool it down. So you got to monitor things.
At what point then do you buy a new machine? Do you hand it off to, somebody else? Do you move into a warehouse?
When enough orders come in.
Or do you just put your master bedroom out?
When enough orders come in, I can buy a bigger machine. And then I had actually tried to look at subcontracting it, but the cost were almost $2 a minute to run the machine. And it was too much. And then you got shipping twice, because then I have to work on the unit. And even when I found someone locally that do it, because their kids were in school during the day, it was still so much. I'm like, this is really tough, just because I think they could knock out 24 of them in 2 hours because their machine was bigger and faster than mine. It was still going to cost like $1,000 or $2,000 every time I got a couple hundred units. And I'm like, I could almost run this on my own and keep doing the small stuff until I get bigger, and then eventually sub it out or change material that's something faster. And that was something I did at the Michigan Inventors event is I had someone that's like, hey, I really think I can make this out of silicone, and then you can roll it up and it will be lighter. So once you
Mhm.
start getting into the bigger and bigger, then you even look at other materials of, hey, how much does this cost? Does this make it faster? Does this make it more durable? And then you start really thinking about that stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, there's like several, spots where people hit, I don't want to say they hit a wall because that's harder to get through, but they see a canyon. And you've got to figure out how to navigate the drop off. And so when you're looking at, all right, your price points don't allow you to get manufacturing just yet. So you can, do some yourself. You get somebody like, Wendy, who runs into, a turkey. And you've got to deal with that. I get a lot of people that, it's like they can't get the, they've got everything lined up, but they haven't gotten to handling the marketing yet. They might have a warehouse, but now how do you market it? How do you get it out? And the show we did today was, kind of what does a buyer need to know? What's the pitch? And how do you get through that? That first one is about 15 seconds. How do you get them to ask the right questions? So you go into now, from a 15-second interview to a 10, 15-minute interview. And so, that's what we were really looking at is what do you have to tell a buyer to get them to say, oh, tell me more about that product.
And then just following what questions they ask, because that's why I kept my flyer fluid, because I had to keep adding a line to it, because they would say, what's your minimum advertised price? What's your minimum order? What is shipping? What is the product dimensions? What is the weight? And I was all like, it's a great product. Just buy 5 of them. And then
Yeah.
that's not the way everyone thinks. And so I just kept adding to it and adding to it. And now it's got all of that for like a wholesale flyer. I have like an end user flyer with different bullet points and data. And then I have a wholesale flyer when I'm trying to sell them in batches or bigger numbers that focuses on the shipping, that shares the minimum advertised, that actually puts their gross margin on it, because a lot of people won't even look at a product depending on the industry unless it's enough margin. Like they don't even want to do the math. They're like, it cost me this and I can sell it for that. You put that in big bold letters, they're like, oh, I'm interested.
Yeah. Are you meeting the multiple of 5?
What's that?
Okay, that's a no then.
Does that mean where it has to be stepped up 5 levels?
Yes, basically what, a retailer, all right, when they're selling it at, retail price, they're calculating they paid 50% for it. If you have to have a distributor in there, there's another layer in there. So what most people are calculating is a multiple of 5. So if you've got a product that's $50, you had to make it, package it, insure it, and ship it for 10. And if you break it down, the store sold it for 50, they paid 25 for it. A distributor paid, $12.25 for it. And so you make $2.25 per unit. And
I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I understand the concept of it, but there was additional layers, and then for the distribution, and I know what their level was. So then we actually raised my product up by $4 to then make that still work on the back end. So so that we had that extra layer of markup, we just raised the final price by, it was only like 10%.
Okay. Yeah, it's something, when somebody comes into the booth at the hardware show, or any of the other shows that I've been to, they're already calculating that multiple of 5. Well, they know then what the product should be, what ballpark it should be in as a consumer product. And so when they're saying, all right, well, this should be, $24.95, so we're looking at $25, are you able to be in the $5 range when you make it? And so their minds are already calculating that. And so when, you're making adjustments to it, every industry's got a swing here, a swing there. I mean, shoot, David, if he was, doing the strong version of the multiple of 5, he'd be able to sell his for, 75 cents. But on the marketplace, they should be probably, what you're looking at in the marketplace, Dave, $10, $15.
Yeah, I'm looking at packaging them together in 5 or 6 in the package for $12.95.
Yeah. But his manufacturing cost is, what, 25 cents?
But right now it's looking around 25 to 30 cents. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's per unit, so
Well,
maybe
yes,
$2. Yeah.
So, he's gonna, he'll do multiples in the package and stuff. But then I'll get another one in a completely different industry, and there's just, there's no way. But like the medical industry, they don't go by the multiple of 5. The technology industry, they don't go by the multiple of 5. So, it's all over the place. But that's kind of the standard. The go to start there formula.
Agreed.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Brendan?
Go ahead.
Yes. I just want, do you have your own prototype? I'm assuming, is that what you have, a prototype machine to make your product?
No, I have a CO2 laser. So it's basically like a laser that cuts out my product. So I had a finished goods, and then I bought the machine to make the finished goods. So I can still engrave and raster and mark on metal, wood, acrylic, and plastic. So yeah, I can make a few different prototypes, but I actually can make my finished product on the machine I bought after I sold enough units, because I always subbed it out in the beginning, and then I got a really big pre-order at a Gush one time, and it was enough that it was a half of what I needed for the machine that I'm like, I'm just going to buy my own machine.
I see. I forgot actually what your product is.
I have a wood template that helps you put together an AR-15, and then I walk you through all the steps, and it holds the parts for you. So like if you got a bike that was in 100 pieces, I put all the pieces together for you, and then it perfectly fits, so you know if it's out of tolerance, and walk you through with videos.
Very interesting.
And I've sold 1,053 of them.
Wonderful.
And I'm in 63 stores.
I don't have that mechanical mind, but I always appreciate somebody who does. I did have several other, not manufacturers, but engineers, I should say, that attempted to give me a prototype. However, I wasn't happy with them, and I didn't realize that I could have, pursued it to see if I can get compensated, because one of them cost me a couple of $1,000s. And I really didn't like the result. But now I'm, of course, learning, and I'm, of course, with Rita, so I feel a little more comfortable that we're going to go a different route that's going to work. So
the biggest thing I learned is you can't always get the final product, that you might have to have a looks like prototype, a works like prototype, and functions like prototype. So depending on how complex it is, you might not actually get the finished goods, and you'll have one that looks like what it's supposed to, and then one that actually works like it's supposed to. So just keep that in mind based on your complexity.
Right. Well, the one that I have now works. It's good enough to show as a prototype, but that's all I have, just the one. So I have a long way to go yet. But I had it done. I went to a university where I lived in Florida that specializes. They had a special lab where they help people like myself that have inventions and needed someone to develop the prototype for them. And they were very good.
Good
they
news.
had a big Haas Center. The University of Northwest Florida was the university. And they didn't charge me anywhere near what I paid with a regular engineer, but they did make me a product that I could show. It probably needs to be tweaked, but we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, at least you got something that you can show, and they didn't rob you.
But exactly. I didn't look at it that way, but yes. Okay. Thank you, Brandon. Okay.
All right. Anybody else have questions and comments? Something they want to share? Dave, what's up?
I've got a couple of marketing questions. If I'm marketing on LinkedIn, I can do, if you're on LinkedIn, a lot of times there's devices, new products that come out that they're really not selling yet. How much should you worry about somebody else seeing that, even in another country, and just copying that before you even have a chance to start manufacturing?
You can worry all night long about it, and it's not going to change anything. All right. You are patent pending. All right. And that's the best you can go for. Otherwise, you'll say, well, I'm going to manufacture some and sell them, but I'm worried about somebody seeing it and copying it. at a certain point, it's like letting your child, go off to college. You've got to let it go so that you can, focus on getting it out there and selling it. If someone copies you, if someone does knock it off, all right, you can stop them at the border from shipping in. All right, they can sell it in other countries and you can't stop them. There are two things that will keep someone at bay that have nothing to do with your patent. All right, one, you're able to fill the orders that come in. All right, so if you get to the point where you can't fill orders, that encourages someone to knock it off. If your price point is a straight, honest price point, if someone knows they can make it and sell it cheaper, that's another encouragement for them to go ahead and do so. So, when someone sees your product and they just want to copy it, then it's the licensee will go after it and fight it. And that's why so many inventors opt for licensing. Otherwise, you have to fight it. You've got to stop them at the border from shipping in. But if you go with the idea that I don't want to post anything yet because I'm afraid somebody's going to see it and knock it off, you'll be worrying about that forever. And some inventors do, but you've still got to get into the marketplace.
So even at the stage before I'm actually selling them, is it okay to promote it now before I'm selling them?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Getting, asking for feedback. It's like, filling orders as of, whatever your next quarter is that you think you can start filling orders.
Okay.
And, people say, oh, as soon as you're ready, let me know because, we want a dozen of them.
Okay. Now the question I asked you about the insurance, if I need the liability insurance, then that means that I would also have to create an LLC. Is that correct?
An LLC is easy to create. It's just, paperwork with your state. But that's a question you would ask the insurance guy. For you to be safe, yes, you would want to create the LLC.
Okay. I know it's in my state, that's not cheap to do.
All right. I'm sorry. You moved to Tennessee.
I was in Florida. It was free.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Don't you have anybody that lives in another state? So, when you can hold off doing that and ask the insurance person, but in order for you to be that one step removed so they can't come after you personally, you've got to set up the LLC.
Do you have any experience establishing the LLC in Delaware, I believe it is? Are you familiar with that?
Is that where you're living?
No, but they said that if you create an LLC in Delaware, you could actually do it that way, and there was a minimal charge, like $50 or something.
Yes. Yes. We have done that multiple times.
So that's legit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll talk to you about that because I mean, it would probably cost me almost $1,000 to do it in my state.
Where do you live?
By the time Rhode Island.
Oh,
because you have to get the LLC, you have to have the business name. So that means you have to file as a business, which is a DBA, and then so they charge you for that. Then they go in, they charge you for the LLC, and it's crazy.
Oh yeah, well I'll talk to my attorney. We'll find some other option.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and my attorney, Wendy, knows my attorney is my husband, so he's easy access. So, all right. Anybody has any questions or anything that I've promised, Danielle, send me an email reminding me tomorrow so I can get that out. Emails will be responded to, early in the morning, but my husband has some surgery tomorrow, so I'll be taking him into the doctor, and be kind of tied up for, a few hours there midday. And other than that, if stay in touch, and Brandon, I'll get you back on the radio. Daniela will definitely get you on the radio. Wendy, you're going to be on the radio too, honey, but we're going to wait till this is cleaned up. And, coming in September is dealing with scoundrels. There you go.
We'll have more information on that, I'm sure, by then.
Oh, I am sure we will. So,
Yep.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a wonderful evening. And if there's anything that you need before the next meeting, shoot me an email. Brandon, you got a question, comment? Or are you saying goodbye?
I got a 3D printer. I haven't looked it up. I do.
We lost you. Say it again.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you hear? I said I got a 3D printer. It's not completely hooked up yet, but I did get it.
All right.
Have a great night, guys, and a wonderful Labor Day weekend.
Hey, take care, everybody.
Same to
Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Good night. All right. Let's see how we do this now. Oh,